Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Action Network's soccer betting preview show. It might be week 1 of the NFL season, but it is match week 4 of the European soccer calendar. And, I've missed you guys. We obviously had the international break in between our last episode. So I just want to get right to it. There's a lot of soccer to bet on this weekend. Players are returning from international duty. That always throws some chaos. Make sure you check injury reports. They're very, very important after a week like this.
I love Southampton, West Ham over 3 goals at plus 120. Southampton matches this season have kind of been a little bit chaotic. They're averaging 3.52 expected goals, 24 shots and 48 touches in both penalty areas. If we date back to the second half of last season, we've obviously talked at length how bad Southampton was over the second half, but we date back to January 9th. Southampton is allowing 1.84 expected goals per match, and they just sold one of their best defenders, Jannik Vestergaard, during the past transfer window, so I have a hard time seeing how their defense is going to get any better. And West Ham has honestly just looked awesome. Mikel Antonio looks like one of the best strikers in the world. That golden boot ticket, Michael, looks like it might be cashing come this May. But West Ham averaging the most expected goals per match outside of anybody in the top 4, dating back to last season, 1.63 per match. But their defense is honestly just kind of average, allowing 1.31 expected goals per match. They allow the 5th most touches in their own final third and 3rd most carries into their own final third, dating back to last season. And honestly, I think this one just has chaos written all over it. 63% of West Ham matches had 3 or more goals scored in them, and all 3 of their matches this season have had more than 3 goals. 2 of Southampton's 3 matches have had more than 3 goals. So I love over 3 goals at anything plus money.
Yeah, let's go with Wolves plus 125 or better. Right now it's about plus 135, plus 140s are out there. They're playing at Watford on Saturday at 10 a.m. And to be honest, I watched the entire game, Wolves, Manchester United. I watched it back and I was just amazed. I had to go back and figure out how Wolves didn't score in that game, how they haven't scored this season. It's actually pretty wild if you go back and look at the chances they've had and the chances they've missed. Adama Traore, number 1 in shot creating actions in the Premier League. People say he can't finish, but he's been setting up his teammates really well. They just haven't quite put the ball in the back of the net. That will happen eventually. It's always, we talk about regression a lot on this show. The team is 6th in passes into the final third, 6th in carries into the final third. They are 6th in pressure rate, and they are in the top half in total progressive passes as well. They're a really good mid-block and counter team. They're also pretty good at breaking down low blocks, as they somewhat showed when they had to do that against Tottenham. They created a bunch of chances. So for me, on the road here against a Watford team that's bottom 5 in every offensive category, from shots to shot creating actions to passes into the penalty area to crosses. They don't offer a ton going forward. I watched them against Brighton and Spurs. They basically created nothing outside of a couple set pieces. So for me, Wolves should get on the board here, finally win a game. And I like them at plus 125 or better.
A team that you also mentioned was Leicester City, as a team that, their record kind of flatters them at this point. It seems like Brendan Rodgers is able to do that as a coach, especially with this team. They are a clinical team, but I actually like Man City as my favorite bet, minus 1.5, plus 160. The way City creates offense, multi-goal wins are just, they're commonplace for them. So I'm always willing, if they are a big favorite, to take a look at the price on them to win by more than 1 goal. And at minus 1.5 plus 160 against a team that I think is pretty overrated and has shown has had trouble early on in the season is worth it. I also like Wolves plus 130 against Watford. I like the Arsenal, Norwich, both teams to score. I mean, both teams are just messes defensively. I can see this game going off the rails in 100 different ways. I like West Ham on the money line plus 140 against Southampton. We love picking against Southampton on the show. I like Leeds plus 370 against Liverpool in a game that should be also bananas. The Brighton-Brentford draw plus 210. That game, I think, is just going to be, could be 0-0, 1-1. That's the hipster derby, of course. And I like Crystal Palace against Tottenham on the money line at plus 350.
Brighton draw no bet, minus 105. Duh, every single week. Brighton. I'm the hipster. I'm going to go with the Brighton hipster instead of the Brentford hipster. Even though I am a part of the Brentford members club, because I can't figure out how to get off their mailing list. West Ham plus 145. Like I mentioned, Southampton, West Ham over 3 goals at plus 120. Newcastle plus 2 minus 115 against Manchester United. I think Manchester United is honestly just a little overrated at this point. I know Ronaldo's there, whatever, who cares? He's old and washed at this point, and all he can do is tap in, just like Harry Kane. And then Everton, minus 135 over Burnley.
Do like Brighton draw no bet as well, minus 105. Leicester City, both teams to score no, minus 110. We talked a little bit, I wrote about it. Leicester struggles at doing anything of note. They had 9 shots in the game against Norwich City at home. It's pretty bad. They're 20th in shot creating actions. They are 19th in penalty area passes, 19th in shots, 18th in passing success rate. And they haven't exactly played a crazy list of teams with wins over Wolves and Norwich. And so and a loss to West Ham. So I'm concerned about Leicester. Don't think they get on the board here. City's defense improved the last 2 weeks after a pretty bad opening game against Spurs. And then I agree with BJ. I'm on Everton minus 135 and Wolves. Obviously I mentioned plus 140. Everton for me, a little concerned with the COVID situation. Is Richarlison going to be able to play? We don't know that situation. Also, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is in doubt, but if they're both a full go, I'll be firing on Everton at some point closer to game time, but I'm going to wait until we get the injury report on that.
Going to the other European leagues, my favorite bet from any of them, I like Mainz plus 255 against Hoffenheim Saturday morning. Bo Svensson, man, like the Bo Svensson defensive revolution at Mainz. He's done a good job turning that defense around. They were middle towards the bottom third in expected goals before he took over last year. He got them towards the top. I think they were 8th since January 4th when he took over. And Hoffenheim can't stop a cold right now. They're 4th. They got the 4th worst expected goals in Bundesliga. Last year they struggled defensively. Their games are wide open. I think that should play into Mainz's hands. Plus 255 is a pretty good number, I think, in the absolute bonkers Bundesliga.
I'm going to go Monaco plus 105 over Marseille. This is Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Marseille was one of the most overrated teams in France last season, only a plus 2.8 expected goal differential, and they finished 5th. When Monaco finished 2 spots ahead of them, had a plus 36.4 expected goal differential. Monaco's had some bad luck to begin the season. They only have 1 win, but they have a plus 2.41 expected goal differential. So I think some positive regression will be coming their way. And last season, Monaco was the best team at home in Ligue 1. They had the most points at home, 1 more point than PSG, and they averaged 2.23 expected goals per match and only allowed 0.82. Marseille's offense last season was honestly really below average. They ranked in the bottom half of the league in touches inside the opponent's penalty area, passes leading to a shot, and shot creating actions, and all that allowed them to only create 1.3 expected goals per match. So I think this is a perfect buy low spot on Monaco at plus 105. I have them projected at minus 160. So I think you're getting a lot of value on Monaco, and I'd play them anything up to minus 130.
Back in the Bach, Gladbach last year really disappointed me. I was high on them going into the year. I had some top 4 on them, and they completely faltered down the stretch. But this year they have completely faltered yet again. So they drew with Bayern on the opening day, and it was a great result. Cash to Bayern fade, which is rare these days. Second game of the year, Jan Sommer basically caught the ball and threw into his net twice. So they lost 4-0 to Leverkusen, but the XG was pretty even in the game. And then they lost 2-1 to Union Berlin on the road, won the expected goals battle. Basically, they've played even with all 3 teams and won none of the games, which is pretty unusual for a team. If you look at their expected goals numbers, 1.7 against a pretty good Leverkusen defense, 2.2 against a pretty good Union defense, and they ripped apart Bayern on multiple occasions in that game on opening day. So I'm impressed by the Gladbach offense, even if the defense and apparently Jan Sommer's bad again. The goalkeeper situation isn't great, but they're playing Arminia Bielefeld at home. I love Gladbach minus 1.25. That game is Sunday at 1:30 p.m. So, maybe you have Red Zone on one TV and then you have Gladbach, off to the side, and you're watching Gladbach as they pour in the goals. Bielefeld, clearly a bottom 4 Bundesliga team, doesn't offer a ton going forward, isn't good defensively. They've been out, expected goals 2.24, 5.7 against. Probably should have lost all 3 games, but they have 3 draws. So due to get beat up at some point, and I think it's a great bounce back spot for Gladbach off the international break.
And talk about a scheduling oversight by the NFL to go week 1 up against Gladbach, Arminia Bielefeld at 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. All right, that'll bring us to everybody's favorite segment of the show. It has been a money pit. It's been an unmitigated disaster for us 3 and anyone else who's been following along. It is our favorite underdog of the weekend from any of the European leagues. We're looking for something 2-1 or better. So don't expect these bets to all win, but expect them all to make you suffer. Anthony, let's start with you. Who's your favorite underdog this weekend?
Red Bull Leipzig money line plus 220. This is my third Bayern fade of the year. The first one we won on opening day, which was nice. Second one was probably my worst soccer call of the year. I took a terrible Hertha team going to Bayern. They lost by 5 plus 2.25. Never had a chance. Probably the worst bet I've made all year. But Bayern away from home the last 2 years defensively significantly worse than they've been at home. And I know there weren't fans last year in the Bundesliga, so the home away splits are kind of weird, but if you look at how they played against Gladbach on the road, they were pretty terrible defensively. End of last season, they were allowing a ton of shots from direct attacks, which has still been a concern early in the year. Köln had some chances from direct attacks. Hertha didn't because they stink, but Gladbach as well. So I'm still questioning this Bayern defense. I'm not totally buying it yet. And of course, they have a big matchup with Barcelona in the Champions League on Tuesday. So although this is a big game in the Bundesliga, let's be honest, Bayern always has one eye on the Champions League because they're going to win the Bundesliga. Big look-ahead spot for Bayern here with Barca coming up on Tuesday. My numbers make Leipzig about plus 165, so I don't hate anything 200 or better here. Probably go down to 190 if it gets that low, which I doubt.
Well, this one's just going to suck. Rayo Vallecano plus 260 against Levante Saturday at 12:30 Eastern. Vallecano looked great right before the international break. They thrashed Granada 4-0, out-created them 2.41 expected goals to 0.78. And Levante is really honestly just a very below average team in La Liga. Last season, they only averaged 1.08 expected goals per match, while allowing 1.45. Their defense also allowed the 4th most shot creating actions, 3rd most touches in their own penalty area, and the 4th most carries into their own 18-yard box. Levante also plays out of a very defensive 4-4-2 formation, but they're not that great out of it. Negative 8.19 expected goal differential dating back to last season. But hey, Levante just signed former Arsenal defender Mustafi, so that's going to solve all their problems, right? And Rayo Vallecano, they just signed former Monaco, Man United, and Atletico Madrid striker Falco, who is now 35 years old. But honestly, I think this is just a situation where Levante is just way overpriced. I have Vallecano projected at plus 207. So I think you're getting some value on plus 260, but this just has like 0-0 draw written all over it, or 1-0 Levante win.
That's the way to sell a bet, and I'll do you one better. 7:30 a.m. Saturday morning, Spurs, Crystal Palace. I like Crystal Palace plus 350. As Anthony wrote in his article, Spurs 3-1-0 wins. Nuno ball is it might not be the most fun to watch, but yeah, it's I mean, look, like it's impressive. That is a managerial talent to be, to get wins and results out of games like that. But at some point you can't win every match 1-0. Spurs has Spurs has a minus. They're in the red in terms of their expected goal differential. I literally right around the same spot that Crystal Palace is at. Palace is playing at home. They're plus 350. They've been good defensively against decent offensive attacks, right? Like, yeah, they didn't play well against Chelsea in Patrick Vieira's first game. They also didn't have Conor Gallagher in that match because he is on loan from Chelsea. Since he's come in, they've looked a lot better, a lot more threatening. They played really well against West Ham, who look like maybe the best team in the world, along with Everton, coming back twice and winning on expected goals in a 2-2 draw. And of course, we know that Nuno is not as well as he has his teams play against top level opponents. They don't really do that well against teams that will sit back in the low block as he tries to sit back and counter. So this is going to probably be a boring game that Palace maybe they go up 1-0 and then they let in like a stoppage time penalty kick for Harry Kane to score and ruin this bet, ruin your day at 7:30 in the morning. I mean, that's the way you start your day, right? A nice painful loss at 9 o'clock, and then you get ready for the rest of the soccer and some college football. So that parlay.
One thing to note, Christian Romero out because of the COVID protocols with Argentina, Giovanni Lo Celso for Tottenham out, and Davinson Sanchez out. So that's two center backs and center mid out for Spurs. So some depth issues for sure.
Get on the Palace party. It's a
I can't. My numbers are right on. I have Tottenham -1.
Also, one thing
13,
to note,
but I can't.
One thing to note, Harry Kane can only do penalties and tap-ins. So as long as you keep him outside the 6-yard box, you're fine. So
There it is. It's going to be a nice Palace party. I'll spend the rest of the week trying to convince these two to hop on 7:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. Perfect way to kick off match week 4. That parlay, if you want to play all three together, 51-1. Do I advise it? Actually, I do. I think it's going to win. It's probably not the smartest, but we're due. We are very due. And that'll wrap it up for us. So make sure to tune in next week for the next edition of the Action Network Soccer Betting Preview Show. I'm Michael Leboff. That's Anthony Dabbundo, and of course, BJ Cunningham.